So we got done walking a little bit ago, and now everybody's napping. I got distracted with talking to my brother for a little while before I got around to starting the video. So yeah, and I mentioned, I think last week, that they had thrown out the idea about whenever, if ever, they go to leave town, I would be welcome to join them. It's like, it was an interesting thought. And it's kind of funny because it's like it never would have occurred to me before, but at the same time, it also kind of would make sense for that to be a possibility now. Of course, like the entire time that my brother and his wife have been together, there was a big chunk where her mom lived with them. And when, they were in Arizona, she was in Arizona. When they went to Texas, she went with them. There was a short span of time where they left her in Oklahoma, but her brother wasn't able to keep up with taking care of her as well as they would have preferred. So she ended up in Indiana with them. So it's like they've always had somebody else with them anyway. And of course, I mean, if I were to embark on that journey, then I would be able to help with the kid better than the deceased grandmother, obviously. She wasn't able to do a whole lot with her in the latter years anyway. But yeah. And, my brother's commented that he's noticed that Gracie's energy is significantly better when she's just around me or just around her parents. It's like as soon as she gets around our parents, it gets kind of ugly. And I've always loved hanging out with that kid, but there have been big spans of time where if she was around grandma, it's like she would spend a bunch of time just lashing out at me and like having meltdowns, like there was something wrong with my energy, kind of a thing. And I think it was she was picking up on that energy dynamic between me and my mom. I always felt like my mom didn't like me at some level. She was like essentially living vicariously through me, but then at the same time, and I think part of this goes to the conversation my brother and I were having about this last night. Made a comment of the connection with my parents and how every time it came up that there was something going on with that side of the family, a birthday party, Christmas, whatever, it's like there were a whole lot of fights between my parents that started coming up. And to the point where my brother and I think I was like probably 8, because that's the time frame everything happened, right? They were fighting so much where it was like, if they got divorced, who would you live with? And I remember that conversation, and I think at the time I probably said my mom, but I was also picking up to the harsh feelings against my dad's family that my mom had. And when we were talking about it last night, it's like, essentially she raised us to hate a part of ourselves because she chose to have kids with this man and then turned around and spent the whole time acting like she didn't want anything to do with his family. And, we're a direct result of that pairing. So, it's kind of shit, but, and I've talked on here before about that point of, how the temper is always a big point on, like, my dad's side of the family. And it's like, I don't think it's so much the temper that's the problem. I think the temper is just the way the slow build of the problem comes out to be vented. That it's basically an unhealthy coping mechanism for situations that are steeped in bullshit that you don't feel like you can do anything about. Like, okay, so me and my brother had this conversation in front of my parents about who we would live with if they got divorced. And I remember thinking Mom at that point in time, and I think my brother was a little more torn about it. I have to go back. We remember those conversations, but I don't really remember his exact comments on it now. But it's like, I feel like initially, yeah, my dad probably would have lost a brunt of, our time and affection because of that situation. But it's like, I feel like in time we would have figured out what was really going on, because I feel like all that ended up happening was he didn't feel like he could, I guess do anything about what was going on, and still keep some kind of connection with his kids. So he just kind of sat there and took it, but I feel like we both spent a lot of time not respecting him, because we just saw that he would never stand up for himself, and he just always went along with whatever bullshit she came up with, and, it was just, he allowed himself to be run over the whole time. And meanwhile, it's like, my brother and I were taking all of that stuff in and being very substantially aware of the idea that, our mom basically didn't like this side of us. And, she would make fun of it at times. I remember hearing that's the Jones coming out in you or whatever, like it was a bad thing. It's like, okay, and it was one of those things that just her attitude about it made me, I guess, shut up, not keep fighting with her over the bullshit. Yeah, but I don't know, since we've been talking, or since his wife mentioned that the other day, that I would be more than welcome to come with them, and he said the idea of leaving, even though he hates the idea of leaving Indiana, he said it's starting to really pique his interest. It's like, I feel this, and I've spent, honestly, a good chunk of this past year trying to figure out how anything would change enough that I would have the opportunity to, exit stage left or whatever. And, when that came up the other day, I was just kind of like, huh. It's like, that is an interesting thought. And it was literally like one that I've never considered before. Even though my brother and I have always been really close, and, it makes sense that they don't have her mom with them now, but they've, always had the space specifically to accommodate, a fourth person in that kind of mother-in-law type role, or sister, that would work. And I made a comment to my brother the other day. It's like, when I told Mom the other day that she had, at some point, it had to be okay for her to let my grandfather die, I was on my way home. It's like, there's a good chance I could be getting thrown out of the house later. I don't know. But then I went home and I told my dad what was going on. It's like, I feel significantly better about that not being the thing that's going to happen. But since I've mentioned that a couple times and saying that I could see my mom trying to throw me out of the house at this point in time, and it's like, what could I do about it, right? And it's like, he's like, you could come over here and stay with us. He said it might be kind of tight, but we could make it work. And it's like, first off, they got some spare room, so it would be okay. But yeah, it's like, they made a crack when they first bought the house that there would even be room for my dad if he ever got mad at my mom and needed a space to go hang out for a while, which actually pissed him off more. And mom wasn't impressed with it either. But now it's like, well, hey, here's me. It's like, that could be enough of a support in getting to the next situation that it would entirely be worth it. But that's like a whole thing that I've kind of been thinking about now. So yeah. And I was walking the dogs and thinking about that quite a bit. And actually at the end of our walk, I had to look it up, but at the end of our walk, I was thinking about this. Earlier in the fall, there was a pigeon that I had come across. There's this little shelter over here by the retention ponds, and it was like a pigeon had flown into it and impaled itself because it was just hanging, and it looked like it wasn't immediate and it had struggled, and my first inclination was to go home, get a ladder and gloves, and come back and, just bury it somewhere nearby. And then I was like, this is school property. Am I going to get in trouble if somebody happens to see me doing this? And so I looked up the grounds committee or grounds department on the school website and sent them a message and said, hey, I know it would probably mess with my niece if she was the one that saw this. And I said it could easily be missed. I just happened to see it because I was walking the dogs over there by the retention pond and happened to look over, and there's this, pigeon that was hanging there. And pigeons are kind of weird because it's like, I think there were 3. I usually saw 3 together. I haven't really seen the other 2 very much since that one's been gone. I have seen them, but not like before. But yeah, the grounds. See, and I didn't send them a message right away. My first inclination was to want to go get a ladder and, shovel and gloves and bury it myself. And then I was like, yeah, that's kind of probably not on me since it's school property. And so I didn't do anything initially, but a couple days later I went back through and it was still there, and it's like, I gotta send somebody something. So I sent him an email, and he got it, or he made sure it got cleaned up really quick, and I think they even repainted after that and got it all cleaned up. But I was kind of thinking about that whole thing when I was walking today. We were walking over by the shelter, and then come across this little feather, and my first thought was pigeon, and it's like, I feel like pigeon, but I'm not 100%, and I looked it up online. I looked up pigeon feathers, and sure enough, that's they were all looking like that. So it's like, yeah, okay. But yeah, so I saw that, the dogs were very interested in sniffing it out, and I brought it into the car and put it in this little, I don't know what to call that little thing. It's a little slot that I can put a couple pins in, and now there's a bird feather collection there, just like feathers that I've found when I've been skating or walking the dogs or whatever. And I think most of them are like the little, I don't know if it's the killdeer or something like that. They're the little ones that run all over the place. I haven't looked up the name in a while, and that is just the name that came to the top. It came to mind right away, but I don't know that that's it. So I will look that up and maybe include it in the comments. But I have a bunch of feathers from those. But this one was kind of cool. Yeah. And then, since I was, thinking about all this stuff, I decided to look up symbolism for the pigeon. And, okay. Also, worthy of noting is my first tattoo that I got it's on my upper back is a crown of thorns with what's supposed to be a white dove. I mean, doves are basically pigeons, right? So, and when the guy was done, he was like, "Your pigeon is done," or whatever. And of course, since I'm white, you can't really make the tattoo more white. It's just like, yeah. So it looks like a pigeon, and I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I might actually make it more pigeon-like before I'm done. I do have some thoughts on how I want to tweak it. I say tweak, but I kind of want to add like a lot more to it, but kind of cover up the original idea without covering it up completely. Just kind of morphing it into something else. Ziva story. Because, that was still a important time frame of my life and theme of my life when I got that particular tattoo. Try to use some hand sanitizer now that I'm messing with the bird feather. If you hear Taz start to sneeze in the back, he's hand sanitizer gets to him. Usually starts clicking his teeth a whole lot and getting kind of goofy. But anyway, so I looked up the pigeon symbolism because it's like, well, clearly I'm having these thoughts out here not pigeon related, but just like new starts and whatnot. And then I find a pigeon feather and it's like, surely it means something, right? So I look up the symbolism, and the one that came up that I went with was from astrology.com. It says pigeons are often seen as symbols of peace, love, and loyalty, depicted in various cultures as messengers of good news and symbols of hope, and some belief systems associated with spirituality and higher realms of consciousness. Pigeon spirit animal represents qualities such as love, affection, and domesticity. People who resonate with the pigeon spirit are often seen as compassionate, nurturing individuals who value relationships and prioritize harmony in their interaction with others. Those who have the pigeon as their totem animal are believed to have a deep connection to their emotions and intuition. They are often sensitive and empathetic, with a strong sense of community and family. Pigeon totem animals are known for their ability to bring peace and healing to those around them. Pigeon power animal can provide guidance on matters of the heart and relationships, can help individuals tap into their emotional intelligence and find peaceful resolutions to conflicts. Pigeon power animals also remind us to trust our instincts and follow our hearts. It's like, well, that all seems relevant for like my life these days. So that's kind of cool. But then especially that bit on, peace and harmony and relationships and a strong sense of community and family. Like my brother and I have always been pretty tight. I mean, there were the years in middle school, high school, and undergrad that were kind of rough. But, it's like we had to go our separate ways for a while. But, starting out, we were really close. And then, of course, we've returned to the close point again. Just processing all this family drama and trying to heal from the drama part of it that we've both been very deeply affected by. So yeah, there's somebody walking in the parking lot, and so far the dogs are asleep, but there's a chance they might wake up, so I'm hoping that they don't. Yep, she's waking up, so I'm going to put this on pause anyway. It's a good thing we put it on pause, because they were well behaved briefly, but Gidget, in spite of her crimpy ears, she was listening to the girl on the phone the whole time, and as soon as she got close enough and Gidget happened to turn and see her, then she just went off, and then they all went off. So, luckily, we have chilled. But yeah, that was a lot. Okay, and she's walking away now, so we should be good. But yeah, I thought just like with that sense of, or like the part about community and harmony and relationships and all that stuff, and then how, you know, they keep inviting me over to spend more time with their family, and out of the dysfunction. So it's like, I mean, sometimes I'll take them up on it, but sometimes, you know, like I tell them, it's like I have no problem hiding out in my own space, not engaging with the drama. It's like I feel like I've had years of practice at that, and now that I'm at least mindful of the need to protect my boundaries, I feel like that helps to enforce it a lot better. You know, and then my brother and I were talking the other day. It was before the funeral. My mom wanted to go to Kohl's to get something to wear to the funeral. And so we did that, and she tried calling my brother twice, and he didn't answer. And once was on the way to Kohl's, and the other was on the way home. And we'd actually were getting ready to stop at the gas station when she tried calling him. So since he didn't answer, I sent him a text message. I was like, all right, so here's the thing. I said, Mom is trying to call you, and I'm in the car now too, so if you want to call her back, now is a safe time, and you won't just have to deal with her. I mean, obviously you can't not deal with that burden of silence in the corner where she's like, she's there and she wants you to know that she's disappointed in you. I mean, we can still have a conversation while she's over there pouting, and we did successfully. We didn't talk as casually as we normally do, because when she's there trying to make you feel the burden of her disappointment, then you can feel it. And of course we've always felt it. You know, that's the problem, is we felt it in abundance more than anything else. And it's like, I get that has been a thing because she has been dealing with her own wounded past. But at some point, you know, the thing that always frustrated me was the fact that she chose to just continue the bad behavior and not heal from it. And because she wouldn't heal from her stuff, it put more stuff on me and my brother to have to heal from. It's like, that's shit. You know, going back to that point of when I was in high school and was fighting with her over something, and I got to a point where I was just like, if I can't heal from this, I never want to have kids, because I don't want to just pass this bullshit on to somebody else to heal from. It's absolutely unacceptable. And yeah, so here I am at 41 without kids. Yeah, but I got my dogs. And I think we're all resting at this point. Well, oh, that's my coat. Tazzy, you in there? Tazzy, man. I think he's looking out the window. Yeah. Disregard my coat fuzz. Gracie and I have the same coat. So I think she likes that. But she had it one day and was putting it on, and then I went and put mine on and came out, and she's like, oh yeah. I was like, hey, you like matching people, I've seen it in action. So but yeah, we were talking about that, and then I've been thinking a lot lately. It's like, I need to, at some point, and I have threatened my brother with this several times, at some point I'm going to show up at his house when his wife's working, and make him do a video with me, however long it ends up being. And I'll probably put it on here first on my channel, and then probably start up a channel for us to have a thing. And maybe it won't be as often as I do my own stuff now, but I mean, it's taken me a while to get to this point, because when I started out, it's like I did 10 videos over the course of about a month and a half, and then I had to take a break from it because I'd already expanded so much further beyond what I thought was possible for me. And unfortunately, I deleted those videos. That kind of makes me sad, but I was afraid of them doing anything without me aware that anything was happening. So I did repost them, not all of them, but some of them. Yeah. But then, I've had days where I've posted 2 or 3 times, and then I've had weeks where I'll go like maybe do once or twice a week. So, it was after I got my 100 in that I felt like I needed to step it up more and start doing more of a regular schedule. And then before I got sick, I was really good at doing them every day. And I think there's that part of me that reacts in response to how I grew up with, that wound of not doing enough. So then it becomes like hyper productive, and I don't feel good, but I'm still going to do the thing anyway, and push myself in ways that I shouldn't necessarily, just because I have anxiety about letting it ease up, or I'm afraid of reverting back into bad habits and not doing the thing at all again, and I think this is I think me getting sick was to kind of shake me out of that habit, because it was starting to become the habit where it was doing it because I felt like I had to do it, rather than doing it because I enjoy doing the thing. And I would much rather post it the same day that I do the video, but I haven't always done it successfully that way, especially when I've gotten a late start on getting it loaded to the computer and then to YouTube. But it's like I was doing it regularly, and it's like, all right, let's keep going. And then it started becoming a thing where it was almost more of an addiction. It's like, nope, no, you're not going to be able to do it because you couldn't go to bed early when you wanted to, and you have to, get dropped on your ass for a little bit and remember the self-care aspect. So yeah, self-care is important. But that's something too. It's like, if I were to move, God only knows where, with their family, it's like, this could be interesting. It's like, then, we'd be around each other enough where we absolutely could do the video frequently, and have that be a bigger thing. Like, my wheels are turning now that this has entered my mind as a possibility. It's like, ooh, what could we do? It's like, this could be a thing. We could have a whole nother channel, and then, and then at some point Gracie's gonna find out about it. And if we're not around the grandparents, her grandparents, then it would be fine, because, then it doesn't matter if she knows about it. Right now, I don't want her telling them about it because I don't want them to know about it. And that's completely because, the brunt of my channel so far has been my healing process and dealing with the family bullshit that they basically forced me to have to deal with, and, trying to navigate the healing journey. And going back to that one video, the first... Okay, I started on November 11th. My parents' anniversary was November 17th. So, 6 days after I started it, right? Was when my dad called me a dumb bitch, and I did a video and was like, I'm so fucking sick of my life and I'm ready for something different, and might even have been the start of my crying on video. I don't know, I do that a lot, but but yeah, it's like now there's possibilities, and it's all stemming from starting this thing. And obviously if I end up living with them, I'm going to feel the need to contribute a lot more than I feel the need to contribute to the situation with my parents, because the situation with my parents and having to, move back there at all was basically because they raised me to be codependent, and I have figured that since that's the case, I don't feel bad about not having as much of an income while trying to figure out the shit I'm supposed to be doing, because it wasn't encouraged that I figure out what I wanted to do for me. It was basically my whole life has been a means for my mom to live vicariously through me. And then here's another thing with that. Okay, so my brother and I were talking yesterday, I think, and what the fuck date is it? I think it's Sunday. So, okay, Friday we talked. I went over to their house to make him watch a music video. And his wife was working remotely, so we just started talking after the video was over. And how was it come up? I don't know. Anyway, I was dealing with the stuff with my dad's side of the family, and how mom always talked about them, and essentially how we grew up feeling about them, because we were basically told that we were supposed to feel that kind of a way, right? And yeah, I don't know. My mom just asked me a question, and I'm not going to respond to it. I'm going to ignore it and hope she doesn't call me, because if she calls me, it'll kill the video. And I don't want to do that. Anyway, that, the sense of, like I said earlier, being raised to hate an aspect of yourself because, the other aspect of yourself is telling you that it's crap, basically. But, one of the biggest things is I always felt like I didn't fit in the family, because as far as my mom's side of the family was, I didn't really, because they were all into sports, and that was the bigger thing. So it's like, okay, the men watch sports in the living room, and the women go talk about each other in the kitchen, basically. The gossip and all that shit. And yeah. So as I was getting ready to leave, my brother said that the thing I said that really stuck with him, my grandfather, my dad's dad, died in 2004, so it's 2 years after I graduated high school. And I was living off campus at Ball State with 5 housemates, and that whole thing came up. And of course, I feel like, and have felt like for a while, like if my grandfather had gotten a hearing aid, my brother said he feels like part of that was he had this idea about didn't want to look old, but I also heard the idea that he didn't want to listen to my grandma. And what I know of my grandma and heard of my grandma all those years, it's like I could see that. But whatever reason, he didn't get the hearing aid. And I have been terrified of using my voice my entire life because, I mean, I've gotten in trouble for shit I didn't do, and that was always the ongoing thing, and it didn't matter what I had to say about it, but I wasn't allowed to say anything about it, or I just ended up taking the punishment for shit I didn't do. But I didn't ever get comfortable with using my voice either. So when I was shy and super not wanting to talk to anybody, and then my grandfather would try to talk to me, and I couldn't talk as loud as he would have required me to talk for him to hear me, we just never connected. But my brother was into sports. He didn't play sports as much, but he was a big sports card collector and hockey jerseys the later years, and other sports jerseys and whatnot. But he has always liked watching sports. And so he gets along, or has always gotten along with my grandparents on my mom's side because of that. But then I had music, so they didn't know shit about music, didn't care to, and my mom would always throw out the old, I can play a mean radio, that kind of bullshit. But it was like, when my grandfather died, I think we were in the elevator leaving the hospice, whatever area he was in. I think it was actually hospice, because they knew he wasn't going to make it out of there. So one of the big things was, I remember we spent this night where it's like all of our families, like all the cousins, the brothers and sisters and their spouses, like we were all there in this room. And my dad's the oldest of 6, and at the time, I mean, there were a bunch of us, not as many as there are now, but most of us were there. My brother was in the Air Force, and my mom told my grandfather to hold on because my brother was on his way and would be there soon. And I think I think it was pretty quick after he got there that my grandfather ended up he opened his eyes, sat up, and then laid back down and was gone. It was just that quick. And on the way home, or on the way back down the elevator, Zibley's got her butt hung up in her shirt. Sorry. There. That better? Yeah. Anyway, somebody said something about his love for the violin when he was growing up, and it's like, why did I not know about this? And in hindsight, I feel like I'd heard something about it at some point, but I was never able to connect with it because I wasn't able to connect with him, really. And then, I was always brought up to hate this other side of myself. And so when it came up, my brother said it really struck him as especially sad that I never realized how into playing music my grandfather had been, all those years ago. And he was apparently in contests at the fair and all sorts of stuff. And it's like, what? It's like, I was in band all this freaking time. Why didn't anybody say anything about that? You know? And like, the only time I remember my dad's parents coming to see me perform with the band was after our drum line won the WGI championship in 2002, and then we had like one final performance that we did for the community, and you know, he got invited to that and was all excited by, you know, the performance and everything. It's like, I feel like I seriously got gypped. You know, that there I go again. Just that, like, this whole thing was the very thing that made me completely aware of how not part of my mom's side of the family I was. It was like the very thing that I was very connected to the other side of the family with, but I was, you know, basically brought up to hate that side of myself, for stupid, dumb shit reasons. And it's like, shit, what could have happened if I would have made this connection and like pursued the music thing back then? You know, and no, I like it just, that just wasn't a thing. You know, but then, like, the whole WGI championship thing, it's like the day, or like immediately after we won, before we went out, I think I was talking to Tyler, it was before we went out for awards. It was like, we got this. This is ours. It's like, I never was more confident about anything in my entire life. It's just like, this is ours, man. You know, and then we decided that we wanted it to be special for the seniors. And it was mainly because I had this brief moment where I was just like, Paul has to be up here with us. You know, Paul has to be with us when we go out for this awards, which also meant that we had to make it a senior thing, so the other two seniors got to be there too, even though I didn't really give it honestly, I didn't give a shit about whether they, you know, they didn't need to go out. But to make it fair and to get Paul up there with us, since, you know, Paul and Tyler were so important to me back then, it was like, Paul has to be going out with us for awards, so we switched it last minute and made it for the seniors to go out, and we got some good pictures. And then, after we won, and all the parents come down from the stands, and everybody celebrating on this gymnasium floor, then, you know, I was struggling to swallow my pride, and what I was going to say was, okay, what I was going to do was swallow my pride and thank my mother for her part in helping us get there. That did not happen, because while I was working on the swallowing my pride thing, she came over, and the first thing out of her mouth was, I deserve this as much as you do. So then it was immediately like, thanks, now this doesn't mean anything to me now. You know, and I think that's one of the really frustrating things. Like, that one I've known hurt for a long time, because I remember when I first went away to undergrad, my brother and I were talking on Messenger at one point, and I told him that was the first thing she said to me after that. And I think she had happened to walk up behind him and saw it. And then, that was supposed to be the big thing, but then I hurt her feelings because, well, she stole this thing from me, and I was pissed about it. But, it's like I was never able to connect with my friends or anything else at that level ever again, because it's like, well, what I said was, clearly you need this more than I do. I mean, I don't think I said that out loud to her, but that was just the thought that went through my head. And then, then I went over and was talking to the guy that I was dating at one point. It's like, so that's what she said. Great. And just that whole stupid dynamic. I watched a Nordic Light tarot reading earlier, and she was talking about, it was so relevant. Like everything she was talking about, like there were two piles that I felt drawn to, and the first one she was talking about the depiction in the 5 of Cups card that she pulled out. It was like walking away from something that's hurt you a lot, but it's necessary to walk away. And even like the cards that she pulled, like at the end of that section, where it's like they all got progressively better. It's like you just gotta leave this thing behind, and then it's like, I kind of feel like that's just my mom, dudes. And I think that's like where my brother and I, obviously, we weren't raised to try to go our own separate ways and have our own lives, but now we're at the point where it's like, we gotta do something else. And, he and his wife have lived away from the family before and made it work just fine. So, my mom likes to say that, oh, well, they'll be back when they need something. It's like, unless you piss them off to the point that, no, there's no turning back, and yeah, I think that's kind of the thing, but then she, in the second reading, it seemed like a continuation of the first in a lot of ways to me, and she's like, you just got to cut this one cord and then you'll be able to like go shift into like this whole, all these good things that are waiting for you. And it's like, I feel that, and now my brother and his wife are talking like they are, and they're making the connections they have, and Gracie's been as affected by my mom's bad behavior here recently as she has. It's like they're seriously considering moving away, and it's like, hey, that would be an awesome opportunity to figure it out, however this all is going to work out. I don't know. But I know the universe has ways, because it keeps showing up for me. Like, I literally had never considered that would even be a possibility. Like, it just wasn't something that had ever crossed my mind. And then one day last week, Jen's like, you're more than welcome to come with us. It's like, wait, what? It's like, there might be something to this. And then it's like, where would we go? I don't know. And I feel like the way I'm looking at it is the universe is preparing me to meet the people I'm meant to meet and get to where I'm meant to be going. And I'm just supposed to be open to the possibilities. And I know that along this whole journey, it's like every time something's come up as a possibility, it's like, ooh, what would that mean? And it's like, my ability to dream bigger is a big thing, obviously. But then, yeah, just like, I think I'm just at a point where I'm holding space for the possibilities and being open to whatever comes my way. It's like, I literally have no idea where I would want to go. So it's like, if I were to go with them, they're going to go probably where Jen can she works in HR, so somewhere that really speaks to them for that purpose, and then figure out the rest from there, kind of a thing. And it's like, that would be the perfect opportunity to be able to step into new experiences and trying different things out to see what works and what I would want to do. And, even collaborations, right? So this could be a good thing. And like I said, my sister-in-law is I guess she's applying to jobs in a bunch of different places and kind of see what calls to them on that end as well. But it's like, this could work. And it's like, I literally have no idea where I would want to go. And honestly, okay, so Twin Flame Journal, what I was writing last night, it's like, okay, what would have to fall into place for this to be able to work out? Like, what for me to comfortably be able to choose to go with them and do this thing, right? And it's like, the biggest thing, I would have to be able to find something I could do to contribute that I love to do. So it's not like just going somewhere else and jumping into something I'm going to eventually hate doing or whatever. I'd like to be able to, okay, I pulled some cards yesterday, and one of them it's the Sacred Medicine Oracle. And the one was the Wisdom Keeper, and it talked about finding a mentor or teacher, preferably one who can see your gifts clearly and help you to develop them. It's like, I want that. It's like, because I kind of have these ideas of things that I feel like I've been able to do, but it's like, I don't know how to work with them, or what use is knowing you can help transmute energy around you if you don't really know specifically ways to do that. And also to make it be a thing where it's successful enough to have some kind of income contribution to life. And I'd have to have a fence for these dogs. That's a big thing. That's the big piece on. I wouldn't want to move in with them at their current house. They don't have a back or a fenced yard, so they have to chain their dogs up. It's like, yeah, that's a whole ordeal if there were 5 dogs. Man. And my dogs will have to get along with their dogs. Obviously we haven't got too involved with that as of yet. Ziva's not a problem. She gets along with everybody. I was always really big on socializing her as much as I possibly could when she was a puppy. So now she's like the go-to. If there's a new dog in the neighborhood that we're going to be interacting with, she's going with me first because she's the most open. All right, cool. Gidget's actually, I think, a little more of the hellion than anything. She didn't used to be. She used to just be afraid of her ass. Now she's hearing me talk about her. But you're not going to get after your cousins like you do Holly, right? We got to get over that. It's not working out for me. She went after Holly the other day and had her pinned down. Holly's got like a spot where it looks like it might have been like a bloody spot, but it just needs to be washed off of there now. I don't think it's like, there's nothing too serious, but scared the shit out of Holly for this moment anyway. The issue we're having is she's very protective of her mama's energy. She doesn't like sharing me. And that's largely my fault because, well, largely my mom's fault, because when I left for the trial run, My healers had to stay behind, so Gidget and Taz had to stay with my ex in Alabama, and even though I saw them at least once a month the entire time we were separated, I left, I think, okay, so dogs go through these fear stages, and I think she was in one of them, and then I left at that time. I didn't know fully about the whole fear stage to that degree until I've had to deal with the aftermath of her being overly protective of my time and energy. So, because she's resource guarding and I am the resource, so it's like every now and then she and Ziva will get after each other, and it's like I can't do anything but literally walk out of the room as quick as possible, and then they'll break it up. But it's like, we're not doing that. Y'all are gonna have to figure it out. This is not acceptable. But I think, when we get in a better situation for all of us, energetically speaking, I think some of those issues will kind of resolve themselves too. So, yeah. I don't know. I guess I will get off of here and go home. Finish Barbie stuff, I guess, because, there's still stuff in my shower. And here's the thing. Okay, so my shower kind of sucks. Or at least it has since we got a new water heater. And, my dad was like, well, I set the temperature at 125, and that should be plenty, right? And it was not. I think it probably is for their bathroom, not for mine. For whatever reason, it's like in the center of the house, and it just, no. So it was like my shower. Anytime I go to take a shower, I can maybe get 5 minutes of hot water, and then it just gets progressively colder, and then, it's not real fun. And it's like, I like my showers to have the option of scalding myself if I need to, if it's like a bad energy day, or, whatever, if I need to cook the bad energies out of my system or whatever. I want to have the option to go really hot if need be, and it's just like lukewarm at best. It's like, fuck, that sucks. So yesterday, after months of complaining about this, I said, one last time, my dad was sitting there playing on YouTube, and I was like, do you think we could maybe up the temperature on the water heater so I can maybe get a little more warm water? Of course, since I was working on cleaning all this Barbie shit the past few days, I spent, I think, like an hour working on it last night, and the water was like icy, and probably a half an hour. It's like, this sucks. Then I just got to a point where it's like, I'm done because I can't warm up now. So, yeah. So then I said something about that, and he said, well, mine, I can get, like, hot water for, like, a good 20 minutes or so. It's like, yeah, mine's, like, 5 minutes at best, and, I don't know what the deal is there. So he upped it to 140 degrees. So today, since I still had a whole bunch of Barbie shit in my tub, it's like, I really want to shower, and so I just went and used their shower because nobody was home. It's like, no wonder he likes the shower so much and didn't think it was a problem that the damn temperature was only 125. Their shower was nice. I didn't even have to crank it to full temperature, and it was nice the entire time. It's like, yeah. So what I'm gonna do is, next time, okay, I want to take at least one shower in my shower before I say anything to him about maybe he needs to try my shower, just to make sure it's, to see how it compares to where it was before I say anything about it. But at some point I might be like, you need to take a shower in this bathroom so you can know what I'm talking about, because it's not near as warm as the other one gets. So yeah. That's a whole thing. But at least there's one shower. I guess if I go freeze myself while I'm skating or something, there's one place I can go to warm up. but we'll see. Anyway, back to that getting off of here thing. As always, I appreciate you, and until the next time, see ya.